trade outside, on the curbs, at the footpath and all. Today, 1/3 of India's wealth is now represented by NSE.
At what point did this idea click in your head that unless there is clear, transparent technology, Janta is not going to come back?
The Ashish Mehta scandal opened and we were all shocked. I also lost some money. My salary was $3,000 and I lost around 50,000. NSE was that seed which changed India not only in finance but also in technology.
What was the biggest challenge that you faced?
When I started working in this field, India did not have more than 1 million people investing in stocks. It was a game of the rich. It was called Satta Bazar, okay? This entire concept of channelizing savings was only in theory.
What next, Mr. Chauhan? What is the next challenge that you're looking at? What's the next phase for NSE, for Indian capital markets that you see?
India has to grow rapidly in next 30, 40, 50 years. It'll have to grow on the back of NSE.
Welcome to this episode of The Disruptors. On the show today, I'm speaking to someone who's been at the starting point of the entire journey of India's financial markets. Ashish Kumar Chauhan, of course, runs the National Stock Exchange, India's largest exchange, but has actually manned both the BSE and the NSE at different times in his career. He's had a long storied journey, but why he is a disruptor is because under his watch, India's financial system has been at the cutting edge, at the front line of every tech change. Thank you so much, Mr. Chauhan, for coming in and agreeing to speak with us on the show.
Thank you.
Okay, so the idea of the show, let me start from there, is to talk about disruptions and how innovation, grit, determination can actually change the way things are done forever. This is something that you've seen time and time and again, isn't it? Especially with Indian financial markets.
In a way, sometimes when things happen, only in retrospect you think it was disruption, right? So sometimes you do it out of necessity, sometimes you do out of whims, sometimes, but largely I would say it is hard work and try to use as much new technologies as possible and the magic happens. So like in 92, I had 91 is when I joined IDBI after IIM Calcutta. That was my first job and I was financing power plants across
How
India.
old were you?
I was like 23-year-old then.
So IIM, so you're an engineer, you do an MBA,
Yes.
and then you join a bank.
Yes, and it was not a bank exactly. In those days, it was actually what we call development financial institution. It was pretty much as large as SBI in those days, and the largest financial institution of India. And so there was of course, a pride to work for such an institution. And then we were all young. The liberalization happened in front of us, literally, in 1991. When India went through the balance of payment crisis. And so I call ourselves the generations of liberalization, which is people who have not seen the working life before that, right? And so that time we were young, the stock market started moving up, Harshad Mehta was a rage, and BSE was close by. And so we would go there in the evenings, sometimes we'll also venture into the floor with somebody and things like that. And it was basically a large floor with a lot of noise, and you never knew what you traded or didn't trade. And maximum amount of trading, the times which you could trade was for 2 hours, not because you couldn't have 24-hour trading. It's just that the number of trades, around 10,000 maximum per day, BSE used to do, would take like 30 to 60 days to just post that, to cover up that you had sold me so much at such and such price vis-a-vis I had bought it at a particular price. So there were disputes and they had to be resolved for 30, 40, 50 days, right? And after that, the settlement used to take place. So that was how India's stock markets were. People used to trade outside, on the curbs, at the footpath and all. And in that context, when the Ashish Mehta scandal opened, and we were all shocked, I also lost some money.
How much did you lose to the Harshad Mehta
My
scam?
salary was $3,000. and I lost around 50,000, right? So that was like a very large sum. It was like
You
a
were
full
deeply
bankruptcy.
leveraged.
Yeah, so, and the badla and everything, I've personally worked, experienced, and things like that. But broadly, that's where when the recommendations to open a new automated exchange came, it was like a bolt from the blue, and I was just a project finance officer, the youngest, one of the youngest in the company then. And then IDBI was told to set up NSE. And then the IDBI set up sort of a team of 5 people who were naturally the best and the brightest of IDBI. And it seems, what I've been told later on, is that one of them dropped out. The management then had to find somebody who was good at technology, at least seemingly, and who wouldn't say no. And that was me. Because I was like 1 year into the job, I didn't even know why I was being transferred from 9th floor to 19th floor. I was told that, okay, go and work in 19th floor with that team. And I went, and why I got a sort of a reputation in 1 year I worked at IDBI of doing well in IT is because IDBI had bought a lot of computers, PCs basically. Those days they used to be called PC-80. And they used to have Lotus 123 was the spreadsheet program. And I was just out of college and I could do some of that spreadsheets, while the other colleagues did not even open their computers. They were covered in that white plastic sheet.
So they said, "अच्छा ये computer पे कुछ करता है, इसको भेज दो."
So this guy seems to be good in IT. That's how it happened, right? So, and I was a mechanical engineer. So I was only engineer in the team. I was the youngest by almost 6 years compared to the nearest young person in the 5 people team. But broadly, my job was to bring tea, coffee, because I was the youngest. And also what my seniors couldn't do, like IT, or my seniors didn't want to do, like doing interior decoration or sort of getting some import certificates and going to the customs to release things. And also, I mean, I was like an errand boy in a sort of a way, right?
So you've gone from you're calling yourself errand boy now, but in hindsight, it seems very ironical to leading this exchange, and so much has happened in the middle. And we'll go through the story because the phases are exciting. At what point, Ashish, did you feel that technology is something that we need to be on top of? Because after Harshad Mehta and the scam, and you're talking about the personal hit, the whole space was shaken up. People didn't have faith. At what point did this idea click in your head that unless there is clear, transparent technology, Janta is not going to come back?
See, I had no clue, frankly, right? It was happening so fast and so quick. We had to do the project in a very short time, as short as possible. And many of these things had not worked before in the world. Not only in India, but not in the world, right? So nobody knew how it is going to work, and nobody had given it a chance. And so India used to have, it used to take 5 years to get a telephone line at home. And to make it work, you had to keep on giving a lot of money to the linesmen in those days, right? So in that context, to create a nationwide exchange which works, connectivity is there. So we said we will use the satellite, because satellite can connect the entire country, but satellite had connected nothing in the country before. It was, we had sent satellites, but we were not using them for the connectivity. When I look back, that technology changed India decisively, but NSE was that seed which changed India not only in finance, but also in technology. There was no large project which people used to use in those days in IT. And so when NSE started spreading its terminals using satellite across India, it was a magic. I mean, my first terminal was in Coimbatore outside Mumbai. And when I placed an order, I went to inaugurate because my boss said that you have created this, you go and inaugurate. And they couldn't believe that such a young boy could sort of come to inaugurate. But the owner's 70-year-old father, when I placed an order, it matched, and I told him that trade happened. That person could not even believe that this has happened. He thought I was faking, right? And so it was basically first experience of most of the Indians to how the magic of IT happens. And slowly you get used to it, that you inculcate, you start using it in different places.
No, obviously it led to the spread of trade, and of course now we are in a very different place, fueled by COVID, more people wanting to start trading, etc. But in terms of your view and your vantage point of how the Indian capital market space has moved, NSE, and then of course the experience at BSE. You brought BSE to the capital markets as well. The role that exchanges have in India has been more than just the platform. It has also been one of awareness. It has been one of more than just facilitating. What are your thoughts on that?
No, in a way, when NSE was being built, you were just going through the mechanical phases of getting things working, right? And then when it worked, I mean, the first day came, we started trading around April, May. Then Dr. Manmohan Singh came to inaugurate after, because they were not confident that this will work or not. So they wanted to see it for a few, like a month or so.
Chal jayega to ribbon kaatne aayenge.
So that's how it happened. But he came, and that was the wholesale debt market, because that's where the actual scandal happened in the debt market, right? In the Harshad Mehta side.
Yeah.
The equities was just an outcome. But one day after, I think July, August, my boss called and said, we are going live on the Diwali day in equities. And we said, no, but that was planned after 2-3 years. He said, no, you have to plan for it now, and Diwali is when we are going live. And so we went live on Diwali day. And broadly, it worked like magic.
What year was this?
This was 94, November 3.
Wow.
And it changed India transformationally. But the stock market's role, which many of us don't realize, even if you work through the life, that the market's first role is to give you price signal. No books have written about it. Nobody talks about it. That the price signal is what the market's function is. That you are staying in a flat, for example, in some corner of Mumbai. You don't have to buy or sell your flat. But you get a price signal that in this particular area, this is the per square foot rate. That is sufficient for you to make your other decisions, right? And that's where the price signal is the most important function. The second most important function is to channelize savings of economy into productive capital. There are two ways you do that. One is through banking system, where you put the money in the bank and then bank on lends, and if somebody defaults on the bank, then bank still has to make your money good. That's called intermediation process. And the stock markets are disintermediation. That is, you put your money, you buy the company shares. After that, the relationship is between you and the company, not with the stock exchange.
Yeah.
Because stock exchange is only giving you a platform to meet the company, buy its shares or sell its shares, and that's it. And that's where the disintermediation.
But what has been the biggest challenge in convincing a large enough part of the population that this is something they should trust? Even today, after the growth, I think you would have not even reached double digits of the part of the population that is trading. Wouldn't have even reached 8, 9, 10%. I think we high single digits, if at all.
So I'll tell you some of the statistics. When I started working in this field, India did not have more than 1 million people investing in stocks. Okay, that is 1992, 94. Million people, like 10 lakh people. It was a game of the rich. It was called Satta Bazar, okay? And it had a very bad name. Dalal is still a 4-letter word in Hindi, right? But basically this was the Dalalika business, right? And so, in some ways, for 100 years plus, 120 years literally, this was basically considered a very small, avoidable place. And companies would not give you information. This entire concept of channelizing savings was only in theory. India never trusted that. And we had tremendous faith in our banks. Despite all the evidence of otherwise, we used to continue to love our banks, especially at policy levels, and which we continue to do. But those days, I think India's total market capitalization was in 1994, when I started, was around 3,70,000 crore rupees. Total market capitalization. Okay, it was probably less than 10% of India's banking system size. Today, after 30 years, now NSE market capitalization listed of all companies is 450 lakh crore, almost 125 times larger. And from 1 million people, now we have 118 million people, or 11.8 crore unique PAN number having investors with me, 23 crore accounts. If I were a country, I would be in like top 12 countries in terms of population, right? And in terms of the the value specified, this 450 lakh crore is almost double or 170% of India's banking system size. From nothing as a percentage of banking, it is now almost double. If you add the debentures and all, it is certainly more than double. Why I'm telling you this is the transparency which NSE brought in pricing, in terms of the corporate governance, because the companies today give you quarterly results and also all the material events that has to happen and things like that.
They have to report to the exchanges.
Right. And what is the power an exchange has? Many of us think that exchanges have power to put people in jail or go after people. Exchange's power is basically to ask companies to give information. If the companies don't give information, we have to just suspend after 6 months, or that also as per SEBI regulations. SEBI makes regulations. We have jurisdiction over two people. One is companies. If they don't give information, we stop companies from trading their stocks, and over the brokers who are our members, and they have to support the investors in transacting those stocks. And if they do anything wrong, we can again stop them from trading. Other than that, we don't have any powers. But the power of transparency that has brought today a situation where 11.8 crore Indians, which is out of which 25% are women, around 8.5 crore households are now investing directly into entrepreneurs sitting in different parts of India. If you are sitting in Jorhat or Dibrugarh or remotest corner, in Ladakh or Andaman Nicobar, I have investors in all the pin codes except 28 pin codes.
Across India?
Across India. India has more than 19,300 plus pin codes.
What state trades the most?
Maharashtra is clearly the winner. The second in terms of trading is Gujarat, because traditionally the stock markets have been prevalent in these two parts of India. But when NSE started, there were actually 23 exchanges in Kanpur, in Patna, in Hyderabad, everywhere. In fact, there were 4 exchanges which are more than 100 years old. But they were local exchanges with floors. This became a screen-based trading where one screen connected the entire country. It was like, literally, when I look back, after Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, the next group of people who connected India well was NSE.
Wow.
Right? And for me, there are many, many things India has done, and NSE has done for India, which is not even celebrated. But NSE has been a singular sort of institution which changed India decisively.
I think also held to very high standards, which is why when the co-location scandal took place, and of course you were not there that time, you actually came back to fix things after. It was a shocker. This trust which you're talking about is hard built, hard won, but also easily lost because it's people's money.
Absolutely. And see, in banks, the bankers lend the money. Here, 11.8 crore people are making up their mind based on whatever television says, whatever information they get, whatever media says, and other things. So it's not controllable. Our common person has basically started trusting its entrepreneurs. Today, 1/3 of India's wealth is now represented by NSE. And that is, for me, last 30 years of India's progress, NSE has been the catalyst. It has allowed companies to raise funds. It has allowed millions and millions to put in small little money. And that also, of course, shows that India has become middle class, that 20% of Indians, households, are now investing in stock markets. It's a great achievement. There are not many countries, including the developed countries. Our country has $3,000 per capita income.
But tell me about that time when you came back and how you had to rebuild the reputation after the co-location scam. That must have been a tough phase.
One more leg of the scandal broke, although the scandal broke in 2015. But I think 22, there was another sort of a situation which came about, invisible yogi and other things. And 2 of my predecessors, who were also founders with me in NSE, they went to jail. And so it was a tough time for the organization. It was also losing credibility in terms of the technology not working out, and also many other things. And even government was feeling that this can create an issue because it's a fulcrum on which any modern nation works. The stock exchange is a very important organization. And to maintain that trust of people, it's very ephemeral, you know.
So you got the call.
And so I got the opportunity, I would say, to come back. And then my wife was against it. My child was against it. Even he's now adult. He was becoming adult that time. And my sister called up from US saying, why are you going for working in that place where people are going to jail and you have enough money, why are you trying to even work? And in that I said, no, I've started this exchange, it is done India so good, and if India has to grow well over next 30, 50, 100 years, it'll grow on the back of NSE.
So against your family's wishes at that time, you came back and you took charge. What was the biggest challenge that you faced personally?
No, in a way, basically the acceptance that you're coming back after 22 years. It's not easy, people accept you, and naturally things have changed, the regulations have changed, and the technology is old. It has to be updated to the level that you want to take it, but the scale also has to increase because India is growing rapidly. You have to reach out to masses, build their confidence.
Is this why the IPO is so important? Because it firmly puts this whole co-location mess behind NSE.
For me,
it means everything is cleared up, and it gives a chance for investors to participate in what NSE is doing.
In a practical sense, today I have like 1,69,000 investors already. It's larger than number of shareholders are larger than most large companies which are already listed. The stock is also traded heavily in private markets and things like that. But as you rightly said, it gives that vote of confidence from the regulators if it lists. It also allows the larger stakeholders. Today also, even now, 31.2% of the stocks are held by PSUs, right? And that gives them also an ability to exit, ability to also claim that they have this. Many of them invested probably 50 lakhs or 1 crore, 2 crores. When it lists, it will have several thousands of crores coming to them. And so for me, it's many things, because listing may be just an event, but it brings the corporate governance framework to the par with the best, and brings the transparency in policy making, in the way you run the organizations. And that's why I think listing is more from, especially for institutions which are public like NSE, it's basically making them more accountable to people.
Where is it stuck?
In a way, the way the process works is that NSE is a regulator, but it's also a regulated entity. It's one of the rare cases where a regulator also has a regulator above them. And so because we are a regulated entity, we have to get first the no objection certificate from our regulator, which is SEBI, to give us the approval to go and file our DRHP, which is the draft red herring prospectus. And so once our NOC comes from SEBI, then we will prepare the DRHP, and then we will file it again with SEBI, which also clears the DRHP after scrutiny.
That's the procedure, sir, but this IPO has been stuck for close to a decade?
No, but if you look back, even for BSE, I joined it in 2009, and there was a need, 2005 onwards, to list BSE because the shares were sold to lots of other people, non-brokers. And finally, after so many committees and other things, finally the BSE was allowed to list in 2017 January, right? And so I am used to having that patience and working through the nitty-gritties, working with the government, the regulator, with all the stakeholders.
The patience comes from the spiritual bent. We were chatting before the show, and Ashish Chauhan shared that at one point he wanted to become a monk. So as a young child?
Yeah, I was very young, probably 7, 8 years old, and up to, I think, around 15, 16-year-old. And my family was broadly of the opinion that I'm going to become a monk. I was also of the opinion that I will become a monk. But then by quirk of fate, I got into IIT. And so that changed life. I came to IIT, and then I was like lonely, did not know English. And so I was going to go back, and I got admissions there as a medical student also. I did one day for medicine studies also, one day in the local engineering college in Ahmedabad, and then came back saying, okay, might as well. If I have to study in English everywhere, might as well go back to IIT.
Was that a stumbling block which you found was a challenge that you had to, because you studied in Gujarati, but then the world that you came into, the professional world, then gave English so much importance?
It does. Not even the study. You couldn't even understand what was being taught, or you couldn't answer in Viva. So, my friends would ask me in Hindi, get answer from me, and then they will answer and they will pass it, I will fail. So, when you go through that, it's a different world there. Many people coming from Mofussil towns and vernacular medium, even today in India, face similar situation. Of course, the discrimination because India wants to speak better English than even English people. But that is how life is. You can't expect life to change for you. You have to change for the life, right? So slowly with struggle, you do things. And if you have that, what I call detachment, you can live through a lot of pain, right? So in some ways, your pain threshold is quite important in going through life in a, what I call, without being pained.
Part of that is in the book, Sthita Pragya,
yes,
that
yes.
you have released. What is the message that you want to give here?
No, in a way, the book is written by somebody else. He wrote a book on my life because he came to know me for a few days, and he thought I live like a monk, because he came to my house for doing a video on my life, for a 1-minute video only. But I live still in the same way where I come from. So that's where he thought I live like a monk, and then he started asking, and he wanted to write this book.
So what next, Mr. Chauhan? What is the next challenge that you're looking at? What's the next phase for NSE, for Indian capital markets that you see?
For me, the NSE's role is to continue to work to ensure that when NSE started, India's per capita income was very low. We have brought it up by almost say 15-20 times up, and in next 20-30 years we have a chance to take it up even up more by say 10 times more.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Chauhan, for speaking with us today.
Thank you.